All right, how's everybody doing today? Hotep, hey, this is Michael Imhotep, founder of the African History Network show, and founder of the African History Network, host of the African History Network show. It is Sunday, July 21st, 2024, and we are live. Oh, we have a jam-packed show for you today. The news broke today around 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I started getting alerts and emails from news organizations all across the country that President Joe Biden announced that he was dropping out of the 2024 presidential race. And then shortly after that, he endorsed Vice President Kamala Harris. Okay, so this has dominated the news story since he released the official statement. We're going to cover what has happened so far, give you a lot of information, talk about what's next as well. We also know that Act Blue, which is one of the Democratic online campaign fundraising platforms, Act Blue announced that they have raised $46 million in about 5 hours once Vice President Kamala Harris announced that she was running. She formally announced that she was running. Now, the delegates still have to vote. Delegates have to be assigned to Vice President Kamala Harris. We know that the Democratic National Convention is coming up in August. Okay, so there's a lot going on right here. There's a lot of movable pieces. Okay, so let's look at, there was a post on X, which used to be Twitter, by Joe Biden. And let's look at that tweet here because I have it up. How's everybody doing? Give us a thumbs up, give us a heart, give us a like on this broadcast. Okay, so President Joe Biden tweeted today, Sunday, July 21st, 2024. He said, "My fellow Democrats, I have decided not to accept the nomination and to focus all my energies on my duties as president for the remainder of my term. My very first decision as the party nominee in 2020 was to pick Kamala Harris as my vice president, and it's been the best decision I've made. Today, I want to offer my full support and endorsement for Kamala to be the nominee. Today, I want to offer my full endorsement and support for Kamala to be the nominee of our party this year. Democrats, it's time to come together and beat Trump. Let's do this. Democrats, it's time to come together and beat Trump. Let's do this." Okay, now, I've been saying that Democrats need to stop fighting amongst themselves, stop tackling their own quarterback, start going after Donald Trump, start going after J.D. Vance. You know, Republicans just had their Republican National Convention, which some people call a Klan rally. Okay, I'm trying to be nice. Some people call it a Klan rally. I wasn't one of them. Okay. Roland Martin called it the Klan rally. I was thinking Klan rally. That's what it reminded me of. But, you know, hey, so they just had their Republican National Convention Monday through Thursday of last week. And you saw Hulk Hogan, you saw a bunch of white supremacists there and ex-felons, okay, who were endorsing Donald Trump, okay, who's convicted on 34 felony counts and also found liable of sexual assault. They're endorsing him for president, right? So let's look at what happened today, and then I'm going to show you the letter that President Joe Biden released, and we're going to get into what happens next as well. Okay, I'm going to try to make this a short broadcast. I don't want this to be a 2-hour show. Okay, I don't want this to be a 2-hour show. If we look here at the updates from New York Times, and also I'll give you information on our online history courses that I teach. We have one class that just started up about 2 weeks ago, and we have a new class starting up next Saturday, July 27th. Biden drops out of presidential race and endorses Harris. Live updates. After intense pressure from within his own party. Now, I still say these are backstabbers. I still say that these are backstabbers. President Joe Biden would be up 10 to 12 points right now if these backstabbers weren't jumping on MSNBC and CNN and putting out all this bullshit, saying for him to resign. And they all said the same thing. They're reading from the same playbook. Somebody's giving them a script. They're reading from the same playbook. Okay, let me just say this right here, and then we're gonna go back to that. When they all say the same damn thing, because of the debate, the June 27th presidential debate, they say because of his poor performance in the debate, it's time for him to pass the torch to the next generation. Okay, apparently they forgot 14 million people voted in the primaries. If your next generation ass wanted to run for president, God damn it, you should have run in the primaries. You don't try to push a president out after he gets 14 million votes, after people, city after city, state after state, go to the polls and vote for him. Now you're trying to push him out. Okay, these are backstabbers. All right, now his good Vice President Kamala Harris is running. Okay, and I think she will beat Donald Trump because the whole energy in the campaign has changed. But let's be very clear. Okay, if you wanted another candidate, what you should have done is run somebody in the primaries. We're 4 months out. We're 107 days away from the election. And Democrats spent 24 days tackling their own quarterback, stabbing them in the back, blocking their own field goals, and then say, oh, your path to 270 has closed. Well, goddamn. No kidding. The Trump campaign has largely been silent because Democrats have been eating their own. So they just, there's a saying in politics. There are two sayings in politics. One, Democrats fall in love, Republicans fall in line. Number one, Republicans are falling in line behind Donald Trump. They say, hey, he may be a sexual assaulter, but that's our sexual assaulter. He may be a felon, but that's our felon. Okay? He may be a criminal, but that's our criminal. Democrats are trying to find somebody to fall in love with. And as I said before, look, I ain't looking for nobody to court me. I don't need nobody. We need to get out of this. The black community needs to be courted. No, we don't. We need somebody going to pass policies that are beneficial for African Americans, and policies that are beneficial for African Americans are beneficial for America in general. We need somebody to stop the domestic terrorist threat known as Donald Trump and MAGA and Project 2025. Okay, if you're lonely, you need to be courted. Go to blackpeoplemeet.com. Okay, but we have to stop this whole infatuation and thinking that we have to be courted. That's nonsense. We have to get out of that. Politics is the legal distribution of scarce wealth, power, and resources, and the writing of laws, statutes, ordinances, amendments, and treaties, their adoption, interpretation, and enforcement. This don't have nothing to do with love. Like Tina Turner said, what's love got to do with it? This doesn't have anything to do with love. That's why Republicans are better at this, because they're not trying to fall in love with anybody. They understand this is about power. They understand this is about power. And if you out of power, and if you're not in the office, you have much less power. This is a fight for power. We have to understand the fight for the power game and stop trying to be in love with a damn candidate. We have to understand how to use. I've said this numerous times on Roland Martin Unfiltered, the African History Network show, when I was speaking at the Juneteenth celebration, and we've been rebroadcasting that video, voting vigilantes at the Juneteenth Jubilee Detroit, Saturday, June 15th, 2024, when I was on that panel discussion. I said we have to understand how to use Biden and Harris and use politicians as a tool to accomplish what it is that we want, but also to stop and fight against other people who are trying to pass laws that harm us. So it's not only about what somebody can do for you, it's also about understanding how to block and stop what people are trying to do to you. We have to understand how to remove obstructionists out of power, how to vote obstructionists out of office. This don't have nothing to do with love. Okay, now that I said that, because we get caught up in all type of superficial, simple Simon ass nonsense. Let's go back to this right here. Okay, New York Times live updates. Biden drops out of presidential race and endorses Harris. Live updates. Okay, after intense pressure from within his own party, these backstabbers, President Biden said he was ending his campaign and backing Vice President Kamala Harris to run in his place. VP Harris said she would seek the nomination, adding quote, together we will fight and together we will win. Okay, so let's look at the TikTok of this. Let's look at some updates here. So Biden's decision upends the race less than 4 months before Election Day. Here's the latest. President Biden, 81 years old, abandoned his, let's go back up. President Biden, 81 years old, abandoned his re-election bid on Sunday as he caved to relentless pressure from his closest allies to drop out of the race amid deep concerns that he was too old and frail to defeat former President Donald Trump. Now, Donald Trump is 3 years younger. Donald Trump is obese. If anybody has cognitive decline, it's Donald Trump. He told over 30 false statements during the June 27th debate. And, you know, when I was on Roland Martin Unfiltered just this past Friday, okay, June 19th, I said, you know, all these people on cable news, they're reading from the same script. And they keep talking about Biden's terrible debate as if he was on stage by himself. But Donald Trump made 3 times as many false statements as Joe Biden did at the same debate. But somehow corporate controlled media, MSNBC and CNN, somehow they give Donald Trump a pass for all those damn lies that he told. And then they hammer Biden. But as the fact checking from CNN.com proves, Biden actually won that debate because the overwhelming majority of the statements that Biden gave, the majority of them were true, even though he did make some mistakes. The majority of them were true, whereas the majority of the statements that Donald Trump made were false, and Donald Trump most of the time didn't even answer the questions he was asked. So how do you win a debate making false statements and not even answering the questions that you were asked? Let me find this here. And then we know when Donald Trump gave his acceptance speech at the Republican National Convention, he made over 22 false statements. Now, the media did hammer him more for that, but I don't understand how they act like Biden was on stage by himself. Okay, let's see here. We'll get that one for you. Let me see. I have that here. Trump claim. Okay. What was the name of that one? I have the fact check from CNN.com. I'll give you the name of that article because I want you to go research this to see how some of these people in corporate media are lying. Hold on, I just had that article. Okay, Trump made more than 30 false claims during CNN's presidential debate. That's the name of it. Trump made more than 30 false claims in CNN presidential debate. I'm gonna pull it up because I want you to go research this, because this is what I've been talking about. And you can't put Joe Biden under a microscope and then put a blindfold on when you deal with Donald Trump. You have to hold them to the same political standard because they're running for the same political position. All right, I think this is it. I want the article. Yeah, this right here. Okay, read this piece right here. This breaks down what I'm talking about. Then I read the fact checking from NBCnews.com, Washington Post, New York Times, Associated Press. They all prove I'm correct. They break down the false statements from Biden, break down the false statements from Trump. Trump made 3 times as many false statements as Biden. So what are you debating? You can't win a debate just by lying. Trump made more than 30 false claims during CNN's presidential debate far more than Biden. And when you go and read this, it tells you that Biden made at least 9 false claims. Okay, then they go and lay out the claims right here. So check this out. This is from CNN.com. All right, now let's continue. I want to go back to the piece from the New York Times. Okay, President Biden, 81, abandoned his bid for re-election on Sunday as he caved to relentless pressure from his closest allies, wealthy donors as well, etc. The George Clooney's and things like this. They didn't mention Project 2025, by the way. George Clooney, when he did his op-ed for the Washington Post, I think it was the Washington Post, George Clooney used to be on the Facts of Life with Tootie, Kim Fields, and he said that Joe Biden should drop out. He didn't mention Project 2025. To drop out of the race amid deep concerns that he was too old and frail to defeat former President Donald Trump. Vice President Kamala Harris said she would seek the nomination in his place, and many Democrats quickly lined up behind her after President Biden gave her his endorsement. Quote, while it has been my intention to seek re-election, I believe it is in the best interest of my party and the country for me to stand down and focus entirely on fulfilling my duties as president for the remainder of my term, President Joe Biden said in a statement. He called it the greatest honor of my life to serve as your president. Now, Biden, unlike Trump, is actually going to leave office, because if Donald Trump becomes president again, he's not going to leave office. He's going to stay in. He incited an insurrection to stay in office the last time. Now that the Supreme Court basically gives him immunity on anything that he claims is a presidential act, or that the 6-3 conservative Supreme Court deems as a presidential act, and he's immune against prosecution. So Biden backs Harris. President Biden gave Vice President Kamala Harris his, quote, full support and endorsement in a social media post. Quote, Democrats, it's time to come together and beat Trump. He added, let's do this. Vice President Kamala Harris said she was honored by Mr. Biden's endorsement and that her intention was to earn and win the party's nomination. Together we will win, she said in the statement, and together we will win. After getting off to a rocky start as vice president, Vice President Kamala Harris now stands at the brink of leading her party's ticket. Now, there were early on in the presidency, there were these hit pieces written in the New York Times and Washington Post, mainly by white people, attacking Vice President Kamala Harris. And then on MSNBC, they'll do a 15-minute piece talking about it. And this is a lot of BS, because you have people in the Democratic Party, especially a lot of white people in the Democratic Party, that fear her becoming president. They know she's competent. They fear her becoming president. Okay. And we're going to see how some of this plays out. All of this is not solved, because you do have some white people in the Democratic Party. Let's just go ahead and say it. You got some white races in the Democratic Party also. You got more in the Republican Party, but you got some white races in the Democratic Party who don't want her to become president. And the goal, and we talked about this on Roland Martin Unfiltered, the goal was they wanted to push out Biden and they wanted to push out Vice President Kamala Harris. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, in her Instagram live that she did Friday morning, almost 50 minutes, and I went through and watched the whole thing. She talked about this, okay? She didn't make it as plainly as I did, but she was saying, look, if you think that there's a consensus around Vice President Kamala Harris, okay, And she said, you're wrong. She said many of the people who are trying to push out Joe Biden also want to push her out as well. Now, we have seen a few senators so far at the time of this broadcast, many Congress people, things like that, coming out and endorsing her. Okay. We have seen Act Blue raise $46 million in somewhere around 5 hours. We have seen endorsements come in from governors, things like this. You're going to have some wealthy donors, wealthy white donors that support her, but there's still a contingency that we're trying to push out Biden, and we're trying to push her out as well. Okay, so this is what we're dealing with. You're dealing with some white supremacists. You're dealing with some white racists in the Democratic Party as well. All right, let's continue. And what it is they fear Kamala Harris because they know if she becomes president, she'll probably be a president for 2 terms, because they want to run. You have some of the donors, they want to run their own candidate in 2028 and 2032. They know if Biden is reelected, then he may not serve the full term. He steps down, she becomes president. She can run really for 2 full terms, because she's fulfilling 1 term. Okay, and then she can run for 2 terms. All right, if I'm pretty certain on that. Okay, you can a person can run for president for 2 full terms, but if you yes, you can run for 2 terms, because the same thing happened with Lyndon Baines Johnson. Kennedy was assassinated. Johnson fulfilled the rest of Kennedy's term. Then Johnson ran for re-election in 64. He could have run for re-election in 68, but declined not to. We found out later it was because he had health problems. Okay, and that set it up for Richard Nixon. They had a broker convention in 68. That didn't work. Hubert Humphrey was the Democratic candidate. He got annihilated by Richard Nixon in 68. We know that George Wallace, governor of Alabama, ran for president in 68 as well as an independent candidate. He got 46 electoral college votes. That's the last time a third-party candidate won a single electoral college vote. That was in 1968. Okay, so you have these forces in the Democratic Party who want to run their own candidate, and they know that they have to force out both Biden and Harris. Okay, now appears that plan didn't work. Only half of that plan worked. We'll see how this all pulls out, but this is all hands on deck now. This is all hands on deck. Now, what we have seen just today is a whole new energy from Democrats and those who vote democratically, vote for the Democratic Party. We have seen a whole new energy just on social media. I can tell you, just on my social media feeds, my personal page, Michael Imhotep, and my Facebook fan page, The African History Network, just a flood of memes and posts about supporting Vice President Kamala Harris. I can tell you, the energy has totally changed in this race. The energy has totally changed in this race. And the Trump campaign can say what they want to. The Trump campaign is scared. They were prepared to run against quote unquote Sleepy Joe. They were prepared to talk about Joe Biden, who can't put together 2 sentences and things like this. This is what they said. Okay, can't put together 2 sentences or something. Now, at the same time, he's supposed to be an international master of crime along with his son, Hunter Biden. Okay, but he can't put together 2 sentences, and he's Sleepy Joe. This is the whole narrative that they're telling. Now, check this out. Now, Donald Trump is the old man in the presidential race. Now, Donald Trump is the oldest one in the presidential race. Now, Donald Trump is the incoherent candidate in the presidential race who was falling asleep in court. Now, the whole ground game, now the whole playing field has shifted. And Donald Trump does not want to debate Kamala Harris in the presidential debate. Donald Trump is scared of Kamala Harris. Now, he can talk all that BS he wants on the golf course. He can talk all that BS he wants to on Truth Social. He does not want to be in debate with Kamala Harris. And what he posted on Truth Social today was the next presidential debate, the second one, because we're only going to be two, is scheduled to be on ABC. Donald Trump wants to move it to Fox News. Why does he want to move it to Fox News? Because he doesn't want them to do any fact checking on Fox News. He knows on ABC they're going to do some fact checking. He wants it to be on Fox News. Also, J.D. Vance, who was named this past week as Donald Trump's running mate, J.D. Vance, senator from Ohio. He has said, and the Trump-Vance campaign have said, that he's not going to debate Vice President Kamala Harris, because normally there's a vice presidential debate. Why doesn't J.D. Vance want to debate Vice President Kamala Harris? Because everybody knows she will kick his ass. That's why. And he wants to avoid that embarrassment. And because you're dealing with two men who are misogynists and sexist, all you have to do is follow J.D. Vance. You can see he's a misogynist. All you have to do is just watch just a little bit of the Republican National Convention. You see that was just male testosterone on steroids. He does not want to get his ass kicked by Vice President Kamala Harris, because that's what will happen in the debate. Okay, let's continue here. So for Mr. Biden's decision ends a political crisis that began with the president delivered a calamitous debate performance against Donald Trump on June 27th. Now, Donald Trump did even worse than Biden. Okay, but Donald Trump gets a pass for being stupid. Donald Trump gets a pass for lying. Donald Trump gets a pass for being incoherent. For weeks, the president insisted that he would remain in the race, but a senior administration official familiar with President Biden's thinking said he changed his mind in part because he had tried for weeks to flip the attention back to Donald Trump. Okay, so then they have a timeline of Biden's decision to drop out. Now, it's hard to flip the attention back to Donald Trump when you got these backstabbers going on CNN, going on MSNBC, going on ABC and NBC News, telling you that you should drop out and pass the torch to the next generation. Okay, and telling you can't win, things like that. It's hard to flip the attention back to Donald Trump when you got people in your own party undermining you. Now, when Vice President Kamala Harris accepts the nomination at the Democratic National Convention, she should come out and have them play the song by the OJs, Backstabbers. They smile in your face all the time. They want to take your place, the backstabbers. That's what they should do. Okay, let's continue. No sitting American, uncertainty looms. No sitting American president has dropped out of a race so late in the cycle, so late in the election cycle. The Democratic National Convention, where President Joe Biden was to have been formally nominated by 3,939 delegates, is scheduled to begin August 19th in Chicago. August 19th in Chicago, just next month. And Democrats are gaming out the scenarios for a new nominee, even if Ms. Harris has certain built-in advantages, including the Biden for President campaign committee officially filing paperwork to rename it Harris for President. Okay, because she officially filed the paperwork today to run for president. One crucial question: what happens to the $96 million already in the Biden campaign coffers? It seems likely that Vice President Kamala Harris can inherit it, because it was for the Biden-Harris campaign. That's why. So she's going to inherit that money. She's going to inherit that and the whole infrastructure of the Biden-Harris campaign. Any other candidate, because of campaign finance laws, would not be able to do that. Okay. Now, Harris picks up endorsements. President Biden's endorsements of Vice President Kamala Harris set off a flood of support from his fellow Democrats, among them former President Bill Clinton and former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, the former Democratic nominee in 2016, Governors Gavin Newsom of California and Josh Shapiro of Pennsylvania, both whom had been seen as potential contenders themselves, also backed her. Okay, so now people are asking who was going to be a vice presidential candidate. Could be Josh Shapiro from Pennsylvania, because Pennsylvania is a battleground state. Josh Shapiro is former attorney general of Pennsylvania. He's an attorney. He's a governor as well, a new governor. Could be Governor Shapiro. Governor Gavin Newsom, Donald Trump is scared of Gavin Newsom. They're both, Gavin Newsom and Kamala Harris are both from California. Based upon the 12th Amendment of the U.S. Constitution, the vice presidential candidate and presidential candidate can't be from the same state. However, there are ways around that. If Vice President Kamala Harris, if her residency is still California, she can change her residency to Washington, D.C. Okay. Now, I'm not sure of the date because I've heard different views on this. I've been hearing about this for the past 3 weeks. I'm not sure the date that has to be changed by, but if her residency is still California, she can change that to Washington, D.C. Because Gavin Newsom, Donald Trump is scared of Gavin Newsom. Gavin Newsom destroyed Governor Ron DeSantis in the debate that the two of them had. Okay, I don't know how people saw that debate. Governor Gavin Newsom destroyed Governor Ron DeSantis of Florida in the debate that they had. Donald Trump is scared of Gavin Newsom. J.D. Vance does not want to debate Gavin Newsom. Gavin Newsom would destroy J.D. Vance. Okay, so the whole game changed, and I think this was, even though what the article from Politico.com that I'm going to show you talked about why Biden made his decision today. I've been hearing over the past few days, and I've been reading articles from the New York Times, things like this, that Biden was getting closer to this decision. He was not going to make this decision before Trump picked his VP nominee, because J.D. Vance is a very weak VP nominee. If Biden had made this decision a week ago, before the Republican National Convention, Trump would have picked somebody else. Okay, Trump would have picked the governor of South Dakota, Bergdam. Okay, he would have picked somebody else who would have been a stronger candidate and a governor. He wouldn't have picked somebody weak like J.D. Vance. Now, Republicans may think, well, J.D. Vance can speak to white working class and things like that. Well, I thought that's what Donald Trump was supposed to do. I thought Donald Trump was supposed to speak to the white working class. They may want J.D. Vance because J.D. Vance is from Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania is a battleground state. But the whole game has changed now. Okay, Governors Gavin Newsom in California, and Josh Shapiro, Pennsylvania, both of whom have been seen as potential contenders themselves, also backed Vice President Kamala Harris, as did a number of high-profile lawmakers, including the leaders of three major power centers on Capitol Hill: the Progressive Caucus, the Congressional Black Caucus, and the centrist New Democrats. Important Democrats mum on Harris. Four of the party's most influential figures issued statements praising President Biden, but stayed silent on Vice President Kamala Harris, including former President Barack Obama, who was said to be maintaining the neutral stance he took during the 2020 primaries, while many Democrats on Capitol Hill rallied around Vice President Kamala Harris. Senator Chuck Schumer and Representative Hakeem Jeffries, the New York Democrats who led the party in Congress, and Representative Nancy Pelosi of California, the former House Speaker, stayed silent. Okay, now donors and voters react. Billionaires are major donors. Billionaires and major donors quickly flocked to Vice President Kamala Harris, while Democratic voters responded to President Biden's exit with a mix of relief and optimism. The leading Site Processing Democratic Donations Act Blue raised more than $50 million for Democrats on Sunday, according to a New York Times analysis. More than $50 million was raised in one day. They're saying this is the most Democrats have raised in one day. Okay. More than $50 million. It was the single biggest day for online Democratic contributions since the 2020 election. So then they talk about, they look at how the vice president polls against Donald Trump. So let's look at this quickly here. How Kamala Harris performs against Donald Trump in the polls. Okay, now polls are just a snapshot in time. And once she really starts prosecuting the case against Trump, well, she's already started, but as VP. Once she really starts prosecuting the case as president, her campaign stops are going to start getting more media coverage than when she was VP. Also, look out for that. Across recent polls, Harris trails Trump by 2 percentage points nationally on average, 46 to 48. This is an improvement over Biden's standing in the race. He trailed Trump by 3 percentage points in the polling average, 47 to 44. In recent swing state polls taken before Biden announced he would withdraw from the presidential race and completed before the assassination attempt on Trump, Vice President Kamala Harris is only down by a percentage point in the crucial swing state of Pennsylvania in a hypothetical matchup with Trump, and she was winning by a more comfortable 5 percentage points in Virginia, a state where President Joe Biden was up by only a razor-thin margin. So they break it down by state. Pennsylvania, okay, Virginia. In both states, Vice President Kamala Harris performed slightly stronger than Biden with Black voters, younger voters, and women, all groups that Democrats need in order to be successful this fall. And importantly, those are groups where Biden appeared to be losing ground. Okay, read the rest of this. Once her campaign really gets underway, you're already seeing a major shift. I can tell just by the social media posts I'm seeing from people on social media coming out supporting her, and my friends on Facebook. I can tell just by that. Okay, I haven't seen the timeline flooded with Joe Biden like that before. All right, now I want to go to, let's do this here. Let's look at, they have the link in here where you can read the letter that Joe Biden put out. I'm not going to go through that just for the sake of time. Well, it's a short letter. It's one page. Let's look at it. This is from the New York Times, but also NBC News, their articles, all that. They have it also. Let's just look at this article. Let's just look at the letter that President Joe Biden put out quickly right here. Read Biden's letter withdrawn from the race. He said, my fellow Americans, over the past 3.5 years, we have made great progress as a nation. Today, America has the strongest economy in the world. We've made historic investments in rebuilding our nation, in lowering prescription drugs for seniors, and in expanding affordable health care to a record number of Americans, We've provided critically needed care to 1 million veterans exposed to toxic substances, passed the first gun safety law in 30 years, appointed the first African-American woman to the Supreme Court, and passed the most significant climate legislation in the history of the world. America has never been better positioned to lead than we are today. I know none of this could have been done without you, the American people. Together, we overcame a once in a century pandemic and the worst economic crisis since the Great Depression. We've protected and preserved our democracy, and we've revitalized and strengthened our alliances around the world. It has been the greatest honor of my life to serve as your president. And while it has been my intention to seek re-election, I believe it is in the best interest of my party and the country for me to stand down and to focus solely on fulfilling my duties as president for the remainder of my term. I will speak to the nation later this week in more detail about my decision. For now, let me express my deepest gratitude to all those who have worked so hard to see me reelected. I want to thank Vice President Kamala Harris for being an extraordinary partner in all this work. And let me express my heartfelt appreciation to the American people for the faith and trust you have placed in me. I believe today what I always have, that there is nothing America can't do when we do it together. We just have to remember we are the United States of America. Okay, so you can check that out. Read Biden's letter withdrawing from the race. That's from New York Times. But all the outlets have that. I posted that on our social media platforms as well. Facebook fan page, The African History Network, and my Instagram page, Michael Imhotep, and my personal page, Michael Imhotep, as well. Okay, now I want to go to, I'm monitoring these updates also while we're live on the air. Okay, let's look at what's next. Let me grab. Okay, Democratic state chairs overwhelmingly uniting behind Vice President Kamala Harris. Let's look at these updates from CNN.com. All right, let's see. Biden drops out of presidential race and endorses Harris to be nominee. What happens next? Despite Biden's backing, it remains unclear whether Harris will become the nominee or what process the party will take to select an alternative. In addition, sources close to Senator Joe Manchin of West Virginia, who's an independent, says he's considering re-registering as a Democrat and throwing his hat into the ring to run for president. That's not going to work. That's not going. If Joe Manchin does that, he's going to lose. That's not going to work. Okay, he's considering it. It's not going to work. Trump reacts in a phone call with CNN after Biden announced his exit. Donald Trump described Biden as, quote, the worst president by far in history of our country. Now, Donald Trump is projecting, because that's Donald Trump who's the worst president in history. The former president issued a fundraising appeal and a message to supporters. Let's see here. Okay, you have governors who've come out in support of endorsing Vice President Kamala Harris. Okay, our governor, Michigan State Governor Gretchen Whitmer, calls Biden great public service servant and reiterates call to defeat Trump. Uh, okay, at this time, Governor Whitmer has not yet publicly endorsed Vice President Kamala Harris and hasn't weighed in on Biden's endorsement of Vice President. I don't think so. You have some people saying Governor Whitmer should run for president. No, she shouldn't. Stand down. This is Vice President Kamala Harris. I'm telling you right now. If you have forces in the Democratic Party that are going to try to push Vice President Kamala Harris aside and push somebody else as the presidential nominee, that's not going to work. And that's going to depress African American voter turnout. And Donald Trump's going to win. Don't do that. Don't do that. You had a call today. First of all, you had the letter from was it 1,400 African American women supporting Joe Biden. We talked about this Friday on Roland Martin Unfiltered. You have this right here. Let me show you this. TheHill.com had this article. All the different news outlets carry this story. This is from July 18th, 2024. "1,400 Black women signed letter of support for Biden, condemn lack of Democratic unity." This is from TheHill.com, July 18th, 2024. 1,400 Black women signed letter of support for President Joe Biden, condemn lack of Democratic unity. More than 1,400 Black women and allies have indicated their support for President Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris in a letter released on Thursday. Okay, so this was Thursday, July 18th, highlighting the fact that millions of Americans cast ballots for Biden and Harris in the primary. The women said attempts to change the ticket, disregard and circumvent the will of millions of voters who participated in the democratic process, end quote. Quote, the suggestion that any candidate who won their primary should simply step aside because victory appears difficult at the moment is disrespectful to the voters, unjust and undemocratic, end quote, the women wrote. The letter is signed by Black powerhouses like Carolyn Mosley Braun, the first African-American woman elected to the Senate, Keisha Lance Bottoms, former senior advisor to President Joe Biden and former mayor of Atlanta, and Melanie Campbell, chair of the Power of the Ballot Action Fund. The letter follows weeks of Democrats calling for Biden to remove himself from the ticket after a disastrous debate, okay, et cetera. Go read the rest of this. Okay, so it goes on to say, history is a great teacher and has taught us that a house divided will fail, the woman wrote Thursday. As Black women, we are uniquely aware of the very real threat a second Trump term poses to our country and especially to our community. But this is not a moment to give into fear. Instead, we must unify around our deep belief in our values, in our ability to effectively engage voters and win up and down the ballot in 2024. Okay, read the rest of that. 1,400 Black women signed letter of support for Biden, condemn lack of Democratic unity. Now, there was an update I just saw from New York Times. I want to go to this here. Okay, this one right here. New York Times update from Kate Kelly. On Sunday evening, a video call convened by the collective Win with Black Women, which advocates for Black women in politics, drew 37,000 participants as of 10:40 p.m., according to Holly Holiday, a call leader who runs an advisory firm that helps organizations with diversity initiatives. Among them were the political strategist down in Brazil, Representative Joyce Beatty, Democrat of Ohio, Representative Maxine Waters, Democrat of California, Representative Jasmine Crockett, Democrat of Texas. Call leaders spoke about their excitement about Vice President Kamala Harris' prospects and the need to get to work immediately in mobilizing voters. The need to get to work immediately in mobilizing voters. Quote, the message is quite simple, Holly Holiday said. It is quite simple. First and foremost, thank you, President Biden, for your service and your work. The next thing, we have a plan. This is not arbitrary. We are ready. So you're going to see mobilization like you haven't seen before, because there's an enthusiasm. The whole energy level and the whole enthusiasm level just went through the roof today with this change. The Biden campaign's rapid response account on X, which used to be Twitter, which it uses to push out its messages and respond to attacks, has been renamed Kamala HQ, Kamala headquarters. Okay, now there was a piece from Politico, and let me just check these updates, see if it's anybody that says that. Okay, we did that. Okay. I was looking at the endorsements here. I mean, the delegates. That's what I was looking at. Okay, I'm going to switch over to the updates from CNN. How's everybody doing? Let's take a quick break here. How's everybody doing? Welcome to the African History Network show. It's Sunday, July 21st, 2024. We are live. Hopefully you like this type of information. We're talking about the news that broke today. President Joe Biden has dropped out of the presidential race. He's endorsed Vice President Kamala Harris. She has filed to run for president. We know August 19th is the Democratic National Convention. We know delegates are being pledged to her right now. Act Blue, the Democratic online fundraising platform, they've raised about over $50 million today. Once the news broke, the news came out about 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Visit our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. Very important. Register for the 2 online history classes I teach. We have one that just started up a couple weeks ago. Black resistance movements, from Christopher Columbus to the Haitian Revolution and the Black Power movement, 1492 to 1968. This deals with how we fought back against white supremacy and racism, going back hundreds of years, the various ways that we fought back against white supremacy and racism. We had a great class today, July 21st. Next class is Sunday, July 28th, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can watch a preview right here. We do the sessions live. All the sessions are archived and recorded. Go back and watch it anytime. Classes on sale, $80, regularly $130. Click right here for a course bundle, because you get this class and the second class that I teach as well. We do so as soon as you register, you can watch the previous courses, the previous class sessions, and there's some bonus content also. And then starting up Saturday, July 27th, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, is class number 1 of Ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Ma'afa, Understanding the Transatlantic Slave Trade, what they didn't teach you in school. We deal with thousands of years of history and what leads up to the transatlantic slave trade taking place. You can download the class lesson plans that we have for this class right at our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. And we have a bundle pack where you get both classes on sale, $120. You can use this content with your children. I would say the content is PG-13. It's not overly graphic. I don't do a lot of cursing, anything like that. The 80 to 100 articles that we reference in each class. There's video clips There's a slideshow that I show as well. So we have a ton of content. Okay. Also, we have a ton of content there. Also, you can support the African History Network, $ the AHN show, through Cash App and through PayPal, paypal.me/the AHN show. So scroll down past the information for the radio show. We have our Cash App and PayPal information here. This helps us keep doing the research, stay on the air, keep broadcasting the African History Network show, keep doing the research, finance the research, pay for all these services I have to use. So we definitely need your financial support this month. You want to donate $10, $15, $20, $25, $50, $100, whatever it is. This is our official Cash App account, $ the AHN show through Cash App and through PayPal, paypal.me/the AHN show. So we have this graphic here with our official Cash App account. These other ones are fake African History Network Cash App accounts that have been stealing money from us. We're still trying to get them shut down. And click right here. This is our link for for PayPal. Okay. And you can register for the online courses that we teach also. That helps support the African History Network as well. So it takes a lot to do what I do. Even this broadcast right here, I'm doing this through Restream. Okay, this isn't broadcasting directly through Facebook. Restream allows you to rebroadcast videos, but broadcast on multiple platforms at the same time. This costs $179 a month with a 20% discount. Restream. So, all right. Let's look at the updates here from CNN.com. Okay, there was one I was just looking at. Okay, thousands of Black women join call to rally around Harris. So this is what we were talking about in the updates from New York Times. With Black women periodically hold Zoom calls, but this one had a different tone and tenor, given Biden's announcement and subsequent endorsement of Harris. Okay, so yeah, thousands of Black women from across the country held a call Sunday evening to discuss the path forward to support Vice President Kamala Harris after President Joe Biden dropped out of the race. Now, do African-American men have calls like this? If they do, let me know. Invite me to one of them. They had 37,000 African-American women on this call today. Do brothers have calls like this? Information shown to President Joe Biden by his two closest advisors showed basically non-existent path forward. Source says. Okay, so this was the reporting that I saw from Politico.com also. So I'm looking at my Facebook friend Amisha Cross. She's going to be on MSNBC at 12:20 a.m. Okay. Because Amisha, we would be on Roland Martin Unfiltered sometimes together, but she's usually on MSNBC, or does she do CNN? Usually she's on MSNBC. She may do BBC News now, but she'll do News Nation also. There was one update I was looking at with the delegates. Oh yeah, right here. This is what I wanted. Democratic state party chairs overwhelmingly uniting behind Harris. Democratic state party chairs overwhelmingly uniting behind Vice President Kamala Harris. The overwhelming majority of state Democratic chairs have announced their support for Vice President Kamala Harris as their nominee for president, the Association of State Democratic Committees said in a statement Sunday. I am proud that state party chairs, vice chairs, and executive directors across the country are overwhelmingly united behind Vice President Kamala Harris, ASDC President Ken Martin said in a statement. These state party leaders are on the front lines of winning elections at every level and know that the stakes of this election could not be higher, With our democracy on the ballot, there is no one more qualified than Vice President Harris to prosecute the case against Donald Trump. Okay. And look, I'm telling you right now, Donald Trump does not want to go up head to head with Vice President Kamala Harris. Okay. You have the prosecutor prosecuting the case against the felon. Trump does not want that. The vast majority of state party leaders voted in support of Harris, and no ASDC member voted in opposition. The statement said a handful of members abstained for in-state procedural reasons, it added. President Joe Biden had endorsed Harris to succeed him after he announced his exit from the 2024 presidential race on Sunday. Okay, now here's what likely happens now that Biden has ended his candidacy. According to Democrats' current rules, President Joe Biden announced on July 21st that he was dropping out of the presidential race. Democratic Party rules suggest the following steps to formally nominate the next candidate, either during a virtual roll call, which the party was tentatively planning for early August, or at the Democratic National Convention in Chicago from August 19th through the 22nd. Potential nominees would need to gain signatures from hundreds of delegates and be recognized as candidates. So from my understanding, it's you need 600 signatures. The 3,949 individual delegates, nearly all former Biden delegates, and roughly 750 superdelegates would be called upon to select the nominee. Candidates would campaign among the delegates for their votes. Superdelegates may or may not take part in the first round of voting. If no candidate gets a majority, voting continues in rounds. When all delegates are involved, a majority of the nearly 4,700 total delegate votes wins the nomination. I think this is going to be pretty much, from what I'm hearing, this is going to be pretty much a wrap this week. The reason why is because the convention is a month away. So you don't want a situation where you got other people trying to run for president at the same time. You only have 4 months. You only have 4 months. Okay? We got to wrap this up. We don't have time for Joe Manchin. We don't have time for other people trying to run all this stuff. You should have run during the primaries. There was another piece that I wanted to look at quickly before we get out of here. All right, just a second. There's another piece I want to look at before we get out of here, one that I have bookmarked. Also, check out the article and the live updates from NBCnews.com. They have some really good reporting I've been looking at all day as well. President Joe Biden drops out of 2024 presidential race. And they have some good, they have the letter here. They have his post on X, formerly Twitter. Okay. So you have all that. You get all the latest updates here. Okay, they have this piece here: how the Democratic nominee is chosen. Biden steps aside willingly. The more than 3,900 pledged delegates cast their first ballot for the party's nominee. One candidate wins, the majority of the delegates is one option. If no candidate wins, the majority of delegates on the first ballot, then the 700 plus super delegates are allowed to vote. Okay, then the delegates, now numbering 4,600, continue to hold votes until one presidential candidate wins the majority of the delegates. Replacing Biden atop the Democratic ticket is likely to set off internal Democratic tremors as ambitious officials maneuver to become his successor. Factions have already formed around Vice President Kamala Harris, Governor Gretchen Whitmer, and Governor Gavin Newsom. Okay, so we see Congressional Black Caucus Chairman Representative Stephen Horsford, Democrat of Nevada, and Representative Gregory Meeks, Democrat of New York, the chair of the group's PAC, said they joined Joe Biden in fully supporting Vice President Kamala Harris to be the Democratic presidential nominee. I know one thing: I will only work for Kamala Harris, Representative Jasmine Crockett, Democrat of Texas, said in a post on X shortly before Biden endorsed her. If it's another other than her, enjoy campaign season. So Jasmine Crockett made it clear: if they're going to try to push somebody in front of Vice President Kamala Harris, she wasn't going to campaign for them. All right, there was one other article I wanted to go to. Also, let me show you this post that I did on our fan page, the African History Network. Okay, give us a thumbs up, give us a heart, give us a like on this broadcast. How y'all like this type of information? And who still needs to register for the online history classes that I teach on the weekends? And as soon as you register, you can start watching the class sessions, watching the content, and you can join us live in class this coming weekend also. We do the sessions live. All the sessions are archived and recorded. You can go back and watch it anytime. Okay, I'm going to show you this. Let me go to my Instagram page because Joanne Reed just, she shared this social media post by Donald Trump. Donald Trump is scared. Donald Trump does not want to go up against Kamala Harris. Okay, here is the post that I did earlier today. I did on my personal page and our fan page, the African History Network. Okay. Now Donald Trump is the old, incoherent man in the race. Do you think he wants to debate VP Kamala Harris? Vance doesn't. JD Vance does not want to debate Vice President Kamala Harris. Neither does Donald Trump. Let's see. Let's click on this. Oh, wrong one. Where is this? Is the post I want right here. Now Donald Trump is the old, incoherent man in the race because, see, they wanted to run against Sleepy Joe. They wanted to run against Joe Biden say he couldn't put together 2 sentences and all this stuff. Now, this totally changes the game. Now they say, okay, Jason Miller, one of Donald Trump's little lackeys, one of Donald Trump's assistants, said, you know, they're going to run the same strategy against Kamala Harris. First of all, the Biden-Harris administration has a fantastic record to run on. Okay, they have a fantastic record to run on. These guys are scared. So Jason Miller can talk that stuff on Fox News and things like that, but I'm telling you right now, they're scared. And J.D. Vance does not want to debate Kamala Harris. All right, now, if we go to, I want to go to my Instagram page right quick, because I want to show you this post Joanne Reed just posted. Now, this is what I was talking about dealing with this is what I was talking about. Now, Donald Trump wants to change the network that the he wants to change the network that the next debate is supposed to take place on. That's already set. That's how you know he's scared. Let me go to this. Where's Joanne Reed? All right. So Joanne Reed posted on Joanne Reed of MSNBC. She posted on her Instagram page today. This is a Truth Social post from the trader-in-chief, Benedict Donald. My debate with crooked Joe Biden, the worst president in the history of the United States, was slated to be broadcast on fake news ABC, the home of George. He calls him George Slopadopoulos. It's like this dude acts like a goddamn 2-year-old. This is the guy who's the Republican nominee to be president of the United States. This is how he talks. Talk about somebody who's incoherent. You know, I'll take senile over Satan any day of the week and twice on Sunday. Let's just be honest. I'll take senile. I'm not worried about senile. I'm worried about Satan. My debate with crooked Joe Biden, in the worst president in the history of the United States, was slated to be broadcast on fake news ABC. The home is supposed to be George Stephanopoulos. Sometime in September. He said sometime in September. So he doesn't even know the date. Now that Joe has, not surprisingly, has quit the race, I think the debate with whomever the radical left Democrats choose should be held on Fox News rather than very biased ABC. This got to be the dumbest ass person. You mean Fox News, the one that had to pay a $787 million settlement to Dominion Voting Systems for all the lies that they told? You mean that Fox News, or you talking about another Fox News? So Joanne Reed posted what I told y'all. He's scared shitless, and he's a unconfident, pathological liar who's only experienced victories when he manipulates the system, i.e. Supreme Court of the United States and Judge Eileen Cannon in Florida. He has to lie and sell you an illusion in hopes you believe him. He only wins when it's handed to him, she meant to say. Okay. This was a repost. She said he's scared. This was a repost from Plies, the rapper Plies. These are the words of Plies right here. Joanne Reed said he's scared. That explains to grammatical errors here. Sorry, Plies. But Donald Trump can play the strong man all he wants to. He's scared. So when you start trying to change the networks that it's on, because he knows Fox News is not going to fact check him in real time, he's scared to death. Now, he's the one who should drop out of the race. Donald Trump is the one who should drop out of the race. Let's be clear. He's totally unqualified to be president. He's told. So let me get this straight. You're a convicted felon and you can't own a 22 caliber handgun. You're a convicted felon. You can't own a 22 caliber handgun because felons can't own guns. But somehow you're going to be in charge of the nuclear codes and in charge of the military. You were found liable of committing fraud, defrauding banks, and inflating the value of your property. So now you have to pay a $454 million fine to the state of New York. But we're going to put you in charge of a $26 trillion economy, and you're found liable of committing fraud for hundreds of millions of dollars. Where are Donald Trump's taxes? He still hasn't released his tax returns. When he ran for president in 2015 and 2016, he didn't release his tax returns. When he ran for president in 2020, he didn't release his tax returns. He hasn't released his tax returns now. Now, he may say, hey, I'm under audit. Well, you were under audit in 2015, 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021, 2022, 2023, 2024. You're still in the audit? You've been in the audit for almost 10 years? What type of criminal enterprise are you running? Oh, we know. You were found liable of committing fraud in the state of New York. So you had to pay a $454 million fine. Your former CFO, Chief Financial Officer, Alan Weisselberg, he just got out of prison. Your former economic advisor, when you were in the White House, Peter Navarro, just got out of federal prison. One of your senior advisors, Stephen K. Bannon, just went to prison. He just reported to prison early July. Okay. So if we want to play the qualified, unqualified game, this ain't a game. This isn't the game Donald Trump wants to play. This isn't the game Donald Trump wants to play. Who's qualified to be president? He's totally unqualified and unhinged. He's totally unqualified mentally. When it comes to skill sets, he's totally unqualified to be president. This piece I want to go to from Politico.com. I saw this earlier today. This deals with why Joe Biden quit. It's from Politico.com. Why Biden finally quit. The Saturday night decision that ended Biden's re-election campaign. The Saturday night decision that ended Biden's re-election campaign. It's from July 21st. For 23 days, President Joe Biden insisted on pushing forward with his re-election bid in the face of calls from Democratic lawmakers and donors for him to step aside. And then almost on a dime, things changed. Early Saturday, July 20th, Biden told senior aides it was, quote unquote, full steam ahead. Even Friday, July 19th, it was, he put out a statement, because we were live on the air on Roland Martin Unfiltered. He put out a statement saying that he was in the race and he'd be back. He was still in the race and he would be back on the campaign trail like this coming week, because we know he's recovering from COVID. Early Saturday, Biden told senior aides it was full steam ahead for the campaign, but by later that evening, he had changed his mind following a long discussion with his two closest aides. Steve Ricchetti, who's been with Biden, Steve Ricchetti, who's been with Biden since the days in the Senate, drove to see the president at his house on the Delaware Shore on Friday. Mike Donnellan arrived on Saturday, the two men, both of whom had been by Biden's side during his key decisions about whether to seek the presidency in 2016 and 2020, sat at a distance from the president, still testing positive for COVID, and presenting damning new information in a meeting that would hasten the end of Biden's political career. In addition to presenting new concerns from lawmakers and updates on a fundraising operation that had slowed considerably, they carried the campaign's own polls, which came back this week and showed his path to victory in November was gone, according to 5 people familiar with the matter, who, like others interviewed for this article, were granted anonymity to discuss private conversations. Biden asked several questions during the exchange. Now, I wish, I said this Friday when I was on Roland's show, I don't like all these people talking anonymously, because you don't know who these people are. Okay, if you have something to say, come out on the record and say it. Put your name on it. Put some respect on your name. Stop all this back talking on background, talking in the shadows. Don't want your name out there. Stop all that. Come out, put your name on it. Even though I disagree with the congressmen and the few senators who came out publicly and called for President Joe Biden to step aside, at least they came out and did it publicly. Okay. At least they came out and did it publicly. They didn't do all this back channel nonsense. All right, now, the only other people with Biden in the residence when he arose Sunday were First Lady Jill Biden and 2 other trusted aides, Deputy Chief of Staff Annie Tomasini and Assistant to the First Lady Anthony Bernal. At 1:45 p.m., he notified a somewhat larger group of close aides that he had decided the night before to end his quest for another term, reading his letter and thanking them for their service. A minute later, before any other campaign and White House staffers could be notified, he posted the historic letter from his campaign account on the social media site X. Okay, and that's what I read to you all. The announcement, which shocked the political world, almost immediately flipped the narrative around Biden, his own party, after 3 weeks of deriding him privately as an isolated, deluded lion in winter, dragging other Democrats down with him, was showering him with loving tributes, praising his career of public service and a selfless decision they said put his country first. It wasn't that the president had grown tired of the drip of defections from within his own party, although he had. Rather, it was that Biden himself was finally convinced of what so many other Democrats had come to believe since his poor debate performance last month. He could not win. When the campaign commissioned new battleground polling over the last week, it was the first time they had done surveys in some key states in more than 2 months, according to two people familiar with the surveys, and the numbers were grim, showing Biden not just trailing in all 6 critical swing states, but collapsing in places like Virginia and New Mexico, where Democrats had not planned on needing to spend massive resources to win. With that knowledge and the awareness that more party elders, including more of his former Senate colleagues, would pile on the public pressure campaign, a sudden exit offered the president his best chance to make it appear that the decision came on his own terms. It was a face-saving move of high importance to Jill Biden, who, according to people familiar with recent conversations, was adamant that her husband's dignity be preserved. Okay. All right, so read the rest of this here. Why Biden finally quit. This is from Politico.com. All right, so hopefully you all learned a lot today. Hopefully you like this broadcast. Give us a thumbs up, give us a heart, give us a like on this broadcast. Support the African History Network. Register for the online history classes that I teach on the weekend. We have a ton of information in those classes. You'll never look at history the same way. You know, what you do for yourself, what you do to yourself, and what you do to yourself, and what you allow other people to do to you and get away with is based upon what you think about yourself. What you think about yourself is based upon what you have been taught about yourself. What you've been taught about yourself is based upon everything you've read, heard, and seen about yourself. So we just posted the information here. We have in the thread of the broadcast for the online classes and how you can support the African History Network. And we have class number 1 of Ancient Kemet, one of the original names for Egypt, the Moors, and the Ma'afa, understanding the transatlantic slave trade, what they didn't teach you in school. We have that starting up Saturday, July 27th, 2024. Okay, Lynn Tucker posted Stop Project 2025. Yep, I agree. And I've been talking about Project 2025 since 2023 because that's when I first found out about it. So I've been talking about it since last year. This is not something new to me. And I've known about the Heritage Foundation for years. Okay, so visit our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. We have the information there as well. Our social media handles are here at the top of the page. And my new 10-week online course, Black Resistance Movements, Christopher Columbus to the Haitian Revolution and Black Power, 1492 to 1968. This deals with the various ways that African Americans fought back and African people fought back against white supremacy and racism, whether it was armed resistance, whether it was through economic empowerment in the cooperatives, cooperative economic, whether it was through education, through the court system, legal means, filing lawsuits, things of that nature, whether it's through political empowerment, etc. We're looking at the various ways that we fought back throughout history, and to understand the laws and policies that were put in place to bring us to where we are today, to understand where we need to go from here. And then also Saturday, July 27th, class number 1 of Ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Ma'afa, understand the transatlantic slave trade, what they didn't teach you in school, starts up as well. So we have a bundle pack. You can get both courses. Bundle pack's on sale, $120 right now. We do the sessions live. All the sessions are archived and recorded. So a year from now, 2 years from now, you can still go back and watch the entire course. Okay, you don't lose access to it. But just the amount of Just the I'm looking here on my social media feed, just the amount of enthusiasm behind Vice President Kamala Harris and people posting about it on my social media feed. I can tell the energy has changed. And I'm looking at posts from African American women I know who are in that Zoom call, the Black Women Win Zoom call, and it's like reach capacity. The Zoom call is reach capacity. All right, we have to get out of here. Remember, the African History Network, we focus on educating, empowering, and inspiring people of African descent throughout the diaspora and around the world, because right now it's correct wrong behavior. It's not over till we win. Wakanda forever. We'll talk to you next time. Peace. Be sure to vote November 5th, 2024. Vote to stop Donald Trump and MAGA. Vote to stop Project 2025. This is serious. This is the most consequential election that I've seen since the 1876 presidential election that ended Reconstruction with the Compromise of 1877. This is the most consequential presidential election since 1876.